Good evening, this is News Mongolia. I'm Satangkort in the MNB World studio. For our top stories, 57th anniversary of India's ITEC program celebrated. Mongolia and Estonia marks the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations. COVID-19, 1,095 confirmed cases, 6 additional deaths reported. For other news, stay tuned. The Embassy of India celebrated the 57th anniversary of India's flagship capacity building program, Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation, on October 22nd in Ulaanbaatar. The event was attended by distinguished guests, including Member of Parliament, ITEC alumnus Demdinyam, and former President of Mongolia, Iqbayr, as well as about 100 ITEC alumni.
Since its launch in 1964, India's ITEC program has been one of the country's most impactful capacity-building programs, benefiting over 200,000 professionals. Every year, the government of India offers over 40,000 scholarships for about 400 professional study courses offered by more than 100 premier Indian institutions. These scholarships are granted to successful applicants in 160 partner countries, including Mongolia. In his opening remarks, Ambassador MP Singh underlined how India has always shared with others its knowledge in science, mathematics, astronomy, and innovation, and has been pursuing developmental cooperation over the years. Ambassador Singh also spoke about India's continuous close partnership with Mongolia, its spiritual neighbor, and how India is employing developmental diplomacy to help Mongolia become a self-sustained state, with the government of India providing a soft loan of over $1.23 billion to fund an oil refinery project. India and Mongolia are cooperating not only in economic sectors, but also in IT, health, science and technology, space, education, cybersecurity, renewable energy, and several other sectors.
And so far, this has benefited over 200,000 scholars from about 160 nations in 400 courses in 100 premier institutions. Coming specifically to Mongolia, we have been sending on a scholarship Mongolian students to India, not only students but scholars and trained personnel. And in last 3 decades, we have sent about 3,000 plus. That includes a group of state secretaries. That also includes a group of 25 Ministry of Foreign Affairs officers. And the most recent was a delegation of 18 governors headed by Prime Minister Oyunerdin in the month of December, January of 2019-2020, before the pandemic, for a public governance course. We have, over the period of time, tried to get this incorporated into the newer and emerging technologies areas, mindful of the pandemic that has been going on.
More than 3,000 Mongolian scholars have benefited from ITEC program over the last 3 decades. The list of scholarship recipients includes several high-level dignitaries, including members of parliament, members of the Constitutional Court, province governors, and vice ministers. Member of Parliament Demdinyam, an ITEC alum, and Iqbayr, the 3rd president of Mongolia, highlighted the two countries' historical connections through shared heritage and a strong developmental cooperation.
I am the alumni of 2005 ITEC program, and it was my first country to come out from Mongolia. And it was a great experience to get the Indian people the sharing will, and learned a lot from them, and studied with the various countries, young generations together, and still we are now, it's like 16 years connecting each other now, and it's the 57th year that the Indian government initiated this development program. So including Mongolia, there is almost 100 countries included in this program, as my knowledge. So today we are celebrating this day, and every year. See, it's great opportunity to connect, making some network between various different interest people and between the various area, including this private industries and government people and the NGOs and the professionals, engineers and social workers.
In the last 3 years, a special group courses were organized for Mongolia, which have been offered to 12 state secretaries, 18 officers from the National Emergency Management Agency, 25 Mongolian Armed Forces officers, and a group of 18 governors led by current Prime Minister Oyongerten. Special training has also been provided to 25 officers from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and 35 officials from Mongol Refinery. Demdenim, along with 2 other ITEC beneficiaries, shared their experiences with the program in India and also how the knowledge gained from premier Indian institutions is now contributing toward developmental progress in Mongolia. A brief cultural program featuring the Mörunkhor, traditional throat singing and folk dance performances, as well as Hindi songs and Bollywood performances, were also organized.
The Embassy of Mongolia in the Kingdom of Sweden, which also works with the governments of nearby countries like Estonia, organized the Mongolian exhibition at the major Estonian museum. We have details in the following report.
The Mongolian Culture and History exhibition Mandala, the Temple of Sacred Tantra, dedicated to the 30th anniversary of Mongolia-Estonia diplomatic relations, was organized by the Embassy of Mongolia in Sweden at the Estonian National Museum, with support from the University of Tartu, the university's Center for Oriental Studies, and the Estonian Oriental Society. An opening ceremony for the exhibition was held on October 20th. The ceremony was attended by the Ambassador of Mongolia to Sweden, Jan Bazar, and the Rector of the University of Tartu delivered an opening speech.
Absolutely very grateful and thankful for choosing the university and Tartu specifically the place to exhibit this extremely important exhibition. And our university, which is the old one even in Western Europe, is very much interested in the region and specifically also for Mongolia, because we have very many things in common, like our last 30 years, how to develop the state, how to develop our society. So that once more, I'm really extremely thankful for making this exhibition happen in Estonia, and I think that it will be not the last one for our countries and for our cooperation. Yeah.
Presentations were given by researchers from the Center for Oriental Studies on the theories of the 3 bodies of the Buddha and by Dr. Professor Mungonchimuk from Bern University on new traditions of Mongolia's Tsam ritual dance. This year marks the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Mongolia and Estonia. During the 2021 United Nations General Assembly, President of Mongolia Khurelsukh met with then President of Estonia Kersti Kailulad. The 2 sides discussed the celebration of the anniversary and the importance of expanding mutual cooperation.
A delegation headed by Vitaly Markelov, Deputy Chairman of the Gazprom Management Committee, is visiting Mongolia with Alexei Overchuk, Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation.
On October 22nd, Deputy Prime Minister of Mongolia Samboing Amarsekhan met with the Gazprom delegation led by Vitaly Markelov to discuss the process of developing a feasibility study for the construction of the Soyuz Vostok gas pipeline in Mongolia. Deputy Prime Minister Amarsekhan heads the Mongolian side of the Joint Working Group for Gas Pipeline Project, which will supply Russian gas to China through Mongolia. The party stressed that the project is being actively promoted in accordance with the Joint Working Group's plans despite the difficult pandemic situation. Due to the growing importance of the gas pipeline project and the special attention being paid to the project by the governments of both countries. According to Gazprom management, the issues discussed during the meeting held this past March have been fully resolved and the next stage of work has begun. It was emphasized that it is necessary to resolve such issues as the establishment of specialized workforce quotas and the provision of customs preferences for the supply of machinery and equipment necessary for the implementation completion of the project. Deputy Prime Minister Amirsekhan stressed that he will do everything possible to move the project forward, since this project, which is important for enriching and expanding the comprehensive strategic partnership between the two countries, will make a significant contribution to Mongolia's long-term sustainable development. The parties agreed to complete the feasibility study before the end of the year and to carry out detailed engineering surveys and construction design work.
The Ministry of Health reported that 1,095 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed today and 6 people have died.
The Ministry of Health today on October 25th has reported that 1,095 new cases of COVID-19 were detected in the past 24 hours after tests were carried out at PCR laboratories across the country. Unfortunately, 6 people died due to COVID-19 complications. All new cases are of domestic transmission, 808 out of which were confirmed in Ulaanbaatar, and the remaining 287 were confirmed in the provinces. 19,093 COVID-19 patients are being treated at hospitals nationwide. Additionally, 47,487 patients are being treated at home. Among the 19,093 COVID-19 patients being treated at hospitals nationwide, 9,464 are showing mild symptoms of illness and 368 are in critical condition. Currently in Mongolia, over 2.2 million people have received their first COVID-19 vaccine dose nationwide, and over 2.1 million have received a second dose of a vaccine.
Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. The qualifiers for the Asian U23 Cup Group J will be held in Ulaanbaatar on October 25th to 31st. In the group stage, Mongolian U23 national team will play against the national teams of Thailand, Malaysia, and Laos.
The Asian Football Confederation Under-23 Asian Cup qualifiers started today until the 31st of October. The J Group matches of the tournament are held in Mongolia, and the first game started at 11 a.m. with the match between Thailand and Mongolia. As for the rival national teams, they have already arrived in Mongolia and will return home after the match through a bubble system. The official days of the competition started on Thursday, and the team started their official training at the Mongolian Football Federation Stadium, where the matches will take place. The first training session was started by the Mongolian Under-23 national team together with assistant coaches Batullag and Tinkhjargal. The national team has been training for 10 days. Shuichi Masa, the head coach, Japanese specialist, had returned home for health reasons, but was kept familiar with each training process via online, giving instructions and briefly explaining his style of play to players and assistant coaches, officials said. Our national team played against Thailand on October 25th at 11 a.m. and second match will be against Malaysia on October 28th at 11 a.m. and third match against Laos on October 31st at 15 p.m.
FIFA has been criticized over its handling of complaints of sexual harassment and physical assault in girls' football after it emerged it had not publicly announced a worldwide ban given to a coach.
Ochra Boubacar, a former coach of Mongolia's Under-15 girls team, received a sanction from FIFA in August after an investigation by the Mongolian Football Federation found he had sexually harassed and physically assaulted youth team players during the East Asian Football Festival in South Korea in 2019. Boubacar has denied committing sexual crimes. The International Players Union, FIFPro, has raised concerns, telling The Guardian it is not enough to privately ban individuals. In an industry where professionals frequently move clubs and countries, this simply allows perpetrators to take up roles elsewhere. To keep players safe, we need a system whereby persons of concerns are immediately suspended and a notice of this is publicly available. A FIFA spokesperson explained that given the serious nature of these cases, which are often criminal in nature, all sanctions are communicated in the first instance by the respective investigation body. FIFA added the decision taken by this independent ethics committee were communicated at their discretion. Buabatr was first suspended from all football-related activities in August 2019 by the Mongolian Football Federation's disciplinary body, which reported the matter 3 months later to the Asian Football Confederation. The AFC told The Guardian that Buabatr's sanction was extended worldwide by FIFA in August 2021, but football's world governing body initially responded to The Guardian's questions about the case by making no mention of its ban. The allegations against Buabatr came to light in August 2019 when the MFF's vice president Atjargal Khashwat received a letter from Kawamoto Naoko, the head coach of the under-15 girls team, which alleged that Buabatr had sexually harassed and physically assaulted players in South Korea and abused team members during a trip to Japan earlier that year.
Here comes the weather forecast for the world's major cities. This is it for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.